Oh, yeah. How we going, David? No, I'm doing a very poor impression of Yogi Bear. That was it, wasn't it?
Yogi Bear.
Back when I was a kid and watched every bit of nonsense that was on TV.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I did too.
How'd you go with Albina? I noticed she dropped out of the f- Facebook chat.
Yeah. Well, she goes to a number of the different other meetings that are happening, ones that she can make. Yeah, so that was very annoying. We were all set for, yeah, well, Monday for me, Tuesday for you, but that group is going to do Habibi in 2.5 weeks.
Okay, so the leader of the group dropped out for that occasion, did they?
I'm going to ask what went wrong. I'm going to ask and I'll hear what happened. You never know. Who knows? Maybe something happened. Who knows? We don't know. It's just annoying. It's just annoying because we had a number of people who were going to attend and then doesn't happen. Annoying. I'll ask. I'll see what happened. We'll see. Who knows? We'll see. But if you it's going to be after that day's Rick meeting, and actually it starts at the same time we end, and we always go over. So I'll tell her we'll be maybe 10 minutes late. But if you go at all, if you don't want to, you don't have to. But too bad. Too bad. Would have been a good meeting. Too bad. But we can still have a good meeting just about 2.5 weeks from now.
Well, I suppose you just got to sort of expect these things.
Yeah, it's just annoying. That's all.
I was watching the YouTube on these military personnel are discussing what was the uh, best of the military rifles, and uh, they all said the AK-47 because it was the most shit rifle. But the beauty, you didn't expect too much out of it, that was for sure. But what it did, it would do.
Hmm.
And most of all, it was foolproof. The trouble with the Western rifles, there was a button here or there. If you pushed it, it created a lot of problems. But no such item exists on the AK-47. It's well, I mean, look at the stuff online in every program today. That remember Windows XP?
Yeah.
That was sort of your relatively foolproof sort of system, wasn't it? And today they've sort of made everything just so complicated that you have to follow a very long instruction book when you're doing anything.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hence my analogy of the AK-47, that for most people, the worst rifle in the world is the best rifle because it's foolproof.
Hmm.
It might not do all the things you want, but as I pointed out, the trouble was, handing rifles to idiots, and you need something that's foolproof, and that doesn't seem to cotton on with the experts because it's like the back of their hand to them,
Hmm.
and they cannot conceive that that's different for the other 99%.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was amazed, so I was listening to talk about Linux, and they're saying Linux is virtually dependent on one guy who does it for free. The sort of the source code, the guy that deals with the source code. So it's sort of the whole idea of the democratization of the net.
Yeah.
It's doesn't ring that strongly. We remain dependent on the capitalist. Capitalists make a good servant, but a bad master.
Hmm.
And trouble with the capitalist realm is that they want to become the market's master. And you, its slave. They went from being your servant to you being their servant.
Hmm.
Oh,
Hmm.
did I get something? Oh no, that can't be it. Isn't downloaded, right? The second one. Download anyway. I was changing my mail.
Oh.
I'm with a provider that gave you the old style internet mail, email,
Hmm.
and they're dropping it. But you can join up this other small service for a monthly fee to keep your old addresses.
Ah.
I assume the small service is also run by them. But I might do that for a while, but I suppose I'll just go for Gmail and
Right.
I'll use Thunderbird to download the Gmail.
Hmm. Hmm.
I must say, I think I preferred SeaMonkey to Thunderbird. Sort of just very, very straightforward. Everything's laid out so nicely in the old SeaMonkey.
Hmm.
You've got everything up there. You can order them by name, or you can order them by date. Change it around at will so easily.
Hmm. Hmm.
I just don't understand Thunderbird, why it's become so different. uh, yeah, so I was trying to get. So I created a Gmail account,
Hmm.
which probably wasn't all that difficult, but trying to get it to download stuff to Thunderbird was the hard part. In the end, I spent 5 hours before I was able to do my mail out.
Really?
Hmm. Yeah, I was using the AI to give me instructions, but
Okay.
there's there's just paths which are misleading. You find that you're doing the wrong thing for a long time, and it's the AI which actually did help me out on that one. It did
Hmm.
some useful work.
Sure.
It's like this morning, there's an exciting comet coming around, so update the astronomy program, the free one, Stellarium, for the comet, so you get the comet appearing on the program, and there's just so many steps.
Right.
So you could just have a fairly simple button, but they don't do that. They just want to make things complicated. So how'd you go with Angelina?
She was looking to go to the BB meeting, which didn't happen. I told her it's going to be on the 27th, and I guess it would be 28th for her, middle of the night.
She sends me up the wall with all her politics about the Middle East.
Okay.
It starts to get a bit condescending after a while. I think she's getting towards the mid-40s now. I think she's one of those people who will be all over you like a rash one minute, and then something's out of place, and then they'll explode. And you must have encountered that in your life.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, right, right. Yeah.
It's not like a man for all seasons. You know, when he says, I suppose we'll meet as friends and depart as enemies." There's sort of that sort of objectivity is missing from a lot of people, and I think I understand the reason why. I think again, I think Kierkegaard had the insight. Uh, People mature physically, you know, from about zero, well, minus actually, to probably about their mid-20s. That their body, there's some degree of growth in their body or change in their brain or whatever that's going to reorientate the way they're having experiences. But after that, you know, if you want to create anything new in your life, it's entirely dependent on your own will. But the interesting thing is, I think, you know, a lot of people, they sort of get retarded in that building growth. Of course, as you're going throughout that 25-year period, it's easier for you to stall. It's much harder for you to stall in the developments which are going to occur at, say, 3 years old. They're quite powerful, but they grow more subtle as you grow older. And I think I understand now that, yeah, a lot of people just sort of, you might say, don't really progress in the bodily sense, in that mental organisation after a certain age. And that was true of me. It's true of a lot of people. And for example, I was wondering about what we call the ferals. In Australia, we call them the ferals. You know, those people who've got a mentality more suited to the cave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was my old car broke down, so I was driving around to get a replacement, and you know, so I was using public transport and getting on the bus, and some of the characters you'd come across, and so I'd probably say I'm a person who probably stalled at about the age of 14, about the age of puberty, something like that. But what you have done from about 7 to 14 is you've developed your intellect. But the people you meet on the buses and trams, you meet people that are obviously stalled at the age of 7. They're just out there in a big way. And that's it. You know, some people progress through the teenage years and maybe stop there. Some make it into early adulthood. Maybe they marry, have a family, get divorced, go through all that. But They've turns with the cogs up until about the age of 25. But, people like me just want to live an extended childhood, as Kierkegaard noticed about himself. Taking responsibility for myself, no. I'd rather other people take the responsibility. I'd rather other people do the leadership, and I'll just have a good time. I'll just twiddle with my belly button and be happy and tour the town with the other students and stick around in a snaps bar somewhere. Why would I give up all that for Regina Olsen? Means I have to go and some spastic part of Denmark and get a job as a priest and listen to people bemoan about their problems all day, all for the sake of having marital bliss, which might not be that perfect. But years later he regretted it, that he'd found a woman in his life that was a rarity, was somebody he could actually get on with. And he threw it away.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, of course, part of the fault of our culture. We live in an increasingly atomized culture, and because we're atomized, we become very particular. I imagine in the ancient medieval village where you did have your particulars, but there was a lot of qualities which were just common. For the basics, you could just marry just about any woman in the village, and it would work because that was the way it was. But today we live a very particular lifestyle. Yeah, but Angelina, she'll just get upset over the politics, and this is a weird bit that, I mean, you're born in Australia, and you decide you only like Arabs and that sort of Middle Eastern culture. So you go and try to live in Jordan, which is not absolutely set, but maybe she'll succeed. And then she starts whinging about the wars in the Middle East, which have been going on since the year dot. Anyway, the big one that upset him was that what is it in the White House is that Pentecostal woman who Trump treats as a sort of spiritual advisor. And then she starts praising him and saying, oh, that, you've been betrayed and suffered like Jesus, which is nothing really. And they're all on fire. And she's saying, oh, everybody's screaming about it in the Middle East. And I sort of kept on saying that you haven't addressed this. I pointed this out about this thing with Trump. What's actually going on there? Well, she didn't call him Jesus. That's a big mistake. They're not even paying attention. And I said, this is a thing that most people don't understand. I've studied a bit of theology, and the Christians made under the Roman emperors, made the extraordinary move of declaring that Jesus was not only all God, he was all human. Which means Jesus can be used as an example to follow. You can't say, you couldn't get Moses with flipping Jehovah saying, well, here's your example to follow, Jehovah. No, you can't. All that can happen is Jehovah can tell you what to do. Here's your 10 commandments, whatever. But Christianity has created a demigod, which is also the human example. And this is missed by people. And she was talking about people in the Middle East, and I didn't bother to tell her, but the way they're acting, Jesus is purely God. But that's not the formula the Christians created. They just don't notice these details. And that's extraordinary. It's not my fault, but I did see it, that one guy noticed, well, actually, we've dropped Jesus as the example. We've replaced Jesus with Hitler as the bad example. We no longer have a good example. We have a bad example. This is a major switcheroo for a civilization, you know. So I'll get on. Where are we? Share, send request. Request has been sent. So you've read this one in the last week, have you, David?
I'm only seeing. Oh, there it is. As I explained, the idea is, yeah, well, it's just another team, another publisher doing the Robert Howard stories originally, and just another take on it, another crack at these. But it's the same stories.
It did include the original short stories for both. I only made it a bit of the way through the first one. I can see at the time, if I was a guy living in the 1930s, I'd probably find Howard's stories quite appealing in this regard. I have read other Howard stories which weren't based on Conan or any of his barbarian characters, but were short stories, and I was impressed by them. So I'd say in Howard we do have a good writer. Okay, a slightly different take on Conan.
Yeah, this is obviously much more modern, a modern comic. This is created just very recently compared to the ones we were doing, which were done in the 70s. This is, yeah, a newer, updated comic, but it's still the same Howard stories, but just another team taking a crack at it.
Okay, some rather voluptuous ladies there. What do you reckon?